You've heard the stories, I'm sure of it. There's this notorious patch of the Atlantic Ocean that's been haunting our imagination for centuries. Some people call it the Devil's Triangle. It's this place where ships and planes supposedly just enter and never leave. It's like they're swallowed whole by some force we can't explain. But here's the thought. What if the biggest mystery isn't what's happening in the triangle, but how this whole legend got started in the first place? All right, so let's get specific. What exactly is the Bermuda Triangle? Well, we're talking about a huge area of the Atlantic, roughly 500,000 square miles. So yeah, not a tiny spot. The 3 points that make up this infamous triangle are Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. And for decades, this is the place where some of the most chilling, spooky disappearance stories have come from. So what gives? Is it a vortex to another dimension? A favorite spot for alien abductions? Or is there something a little more, down to earth going on? That's the big question, right? And that's exactly what we're going to figure out together. Okay, so to get to the truth, we first have to unpack the legend itself. And believe me, this story didn't just pop up overnight. It was built piece by piece, little by little, over hundreds of years. You can trace the whispers all the way back to Christopher Columbus, who wrote in his log about his compass going haywire and seeing a strange flame in the sky. Then, fast forward to 1918, you've got the USS Cyclops, this huge U.S. Navy cargo ship with 306 people on it, gone, just vanished. But the story that really lit the fuse, that was Flight 19 in 1945. 5 Navy bombers, poof, gone. And yet, it wasn't until 1964 that writer Vincent Gaddis actually gave it the name we all know, the Bermuda Triangle. Now, of all the stories that make up this legend, there's one that's really the cornerstone. It's got more drama, more confusion, more tragedy than pretty much any thriller you could imagine. I am, of course, talking about Flight 19. So picture this. It's December 5th, 1945. 5 U.S. Navy bombers take off from sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida. These are seasoned pilots on a totally routine training mission. It was literally called Navigation Problem Number 1. They've got 4 hours of fuel. What could possibly go wrong? And this is the moment it all starts to unravel. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, gets on the radio. He's convinced both of his compasses are busted. He thinks he's over the Florida Keys. The problem? He wasn't. He was over the Bahamas. Now, from the air, I guess they can look kind of similar, but that one single disastrous mistake sent them flying in the complete opposite direction. Not west towards home, but east, deeper and deeper into the empty Atlantic Ocean. And here's what's just absolutely tragic. The other pilots in his squadron, they knew something was wrong. We actually have radio recordings of a junior pilot basically begging, damn it, if we could just fly west, we would get home. But, this was the military in the 1940s. You just didn't question your commanding officer. So they followed him. They followed their leader right into the setting sun. Their fuel is running on fumes. Darkness is falling. The sea is getting rough. And this is one of the last transmissions ever heard from Flight 19. The plan was to ditch their planes in the water all at the same time. They and the rescue plane that was sent out to find them were never seen or heard from again. That is the story that really cemented the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. So, with a mystery that bone-chilling, it's really no surprise that the explanations started to get, a little wild. People were desperate for answers, and they came up with some absolutely incredible theories. And they really ran the gamut, from the totally bizarre to the, kind of plausible. So what were people thinking? Well, on the super sensational end, you had theories about alien abductions, the lost city of Atlantis, even sea monsters. Then you got the more, let's say, science-y sounding ideas, like maybe huge bubbles of methane gas erupt from the seafloor and just swallow ships whole. It's theoretically possible, I guess, but we've never, ever actually seen that happen in this area. And then there's the most grounded theory, magnetic weirdness. The triangle is one of only 2 places on Earth where a compass can point to true north instead of magnetic north. And yeah, that could definitely mess you up if you didn't know what you were doing. And for years, these theories were everywhere. They fueled best-selling books, TV specials, the whole shebang. But then, in 1975, this unlikely hero steps onto the scene. He's not some famous explorer or a scientist. He's a librarian from Arizona named Larry Kush. And he decided to do something that, crazily enough, no one else had really bothered to do. He decided to just check the facts. So Couchet, he does the hard work. He digs into the original sources. We're talking old newspaper articles, official military reports, weather records, everything. And what he uncovered was pretty shocking. The real mystery wasn't out there in the ocean, it was in the way the stories were being told. Author after author had exaggerated details, they'd conveniently forget to mention that a ship vanished during a massive hurricane, or sometimes they just straight up invented incidents that never even happened. And once he started applying this fact-checking to the famous cases, the myths just started to crumble. Take the USS Cyclops. The legend says it vanished on a calm day. The truth? The ship was known to be top-heavy, it was overloaded with corrosive stuff, and its two sister ships also sank because of structural problems. Or how about the SS Cotopaxi, the one from the movie Close Encounters? It didn't just disappear. Nope. It sent out a distress call saying it was caught in a big storm and taking on water. And guess what? They actually found its wreck in 2020. In case after case, the mystery was really just a story with all the important facts left out. All right, so if all the spooky, sensational stories aren't really true, then what is? What's the reality? What do the people who actually have to deal with this stretch of ocean every day, the Coast Guard, the Navy, the people who insure the ships, what do they have to say about all this? If you ever want to know how dangerous a place really is, just follow the money. And this number says it all. 0. That is the extra amount of money, the extra insurance premium that Lloyd's of London charges for ships to cross the Bermuda Triangle. 0. If there was any real statistical danger, believe me, they would charge more. They don't, because there isn't. So if it's not aliens or sea monsters, then what is going on? Well, the truth is, this region is a genuine perfect storm of real natural dangers. First, you've got the Gulf Stream. It's like a ferocious, fast-moving river inside the ocean that can obliterate any evidence of a disaster in just a few hours. Second, this whole area is smack dab in the middle of Hurricane Alley, so the weather can get incredibly violent and unpredictable. Third, the ocean floor itself is treacherous. It goes from super shallow to some of the deepest trenches on the planet. And finally, and this is a big one, you just have a ton of boat and plane traffic, a lot of it with inexperienced people, which means, statistically, you're just going to have more accidents from plain old human error. And here it is, the final nail in the coffin of the mystery. Officially, according to the United States government, the Bermuda Triangle doesn't exist. That's right, it's not on any official map. It is not a recognized geographical area. It's a concept, a fictional place really, that was born from a few real tragedies and then inflated by decades of sensational storytelling. Which brings us to one last big question. If all the facts are so clear, if the mystery is, for all intents and purposes, solved, then why do we still love this legend so much? Why does it endure? And maybe, it's because deep down, a part of us doesn't want every single corner of the world to be mapped out and explained. We kind of like the idea that there might still be dragons on the map, a place where the unknown is still possible. And for that reason, the idea of the Bermuda Triangle, well, that's a story that might never really go away.